The Mandalorian has been a hit on Disney Plus. There's no doubt of that. It has brought the Star Wars fandom together for the most part. Yes, there are some who don't like the show, but they are few and far between. Not only has it brought a breath of fresh air to the fandom, though, it has also brought in new fans. Newer fans that may only want to watch The Mandalorian and nothing else Star Wars, and that's okay. Maybe there are fans of Star Wars who also don't know much about Mandalorian culture as a whole. So, this is a brief history of the Mandalorian culture, today on Star Wars Fanatic. And while you're here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to stay alerted when I release new Star Wars videos. Okay, to preface this, Mandalorians haven't always been mostly human. In canon, or official story, there isn't much about the Taung. This is the race of ancient Mandalorians that existed before the Mandalorians we know today. But they are apparently canon, according to Wikipedia. However, in Legends, or the non-official story, there is so much written about the ancient Mandalorians. In canon, the Taung were a warrior race of humanoid simians who originated in the core worlds of the Star Wars galaxy. That's about all we get for the official story. However, the Legends story is a bit more intuitive. I won't go into the entirety of their story, but rather the main aspects that helped shape the Mandalorians we know today. The Taung were a warrior class of beings from ancient Coruscant, and they saw battle as honorable. They waged war with another ancient race on Coruscant, but were driven from the planet. They found a new homeworld, but decided to move toward conquest. They found another world in the Outer Rim, which they named Mandalore, named so after the first leader of the unified clans, titled Mandalore the First. By the way, Mandalore is the title for the leader of the Mandalorian people. The Taung then rebranded themselves as the Mandalorians, or in their language, Mando Ade. They went on to conquer the planets and moons in their area, which would eventually be known as the Mandalorian Sector. The Taung generally wiped out the inhabitants of the world they would conquer, but later they would accept some into their ranks through respect of their war strategies and prowess. Eventually, the Taung waged war against the Galactic Republic and were doing well against them, until the Jedi, led by Revan, joined the side of the Republic. The Taung were rendered all but extinct. During the war with the Jedi and the Republic, the Mandalorians, as they were now known as, incorporated many races into their ranks, including humans. Many of innovations were made to their culture through their fighting styles and their armor. Fighting the Jedi brought about the beginning of the Mandalorians we know today. The armor, the weapons, the independence, and the war. The more modern Mandalorians adhered to a creed they call the Rezel Nare. The Rezel Nare translates to the 6 Acts. I've done videos on the Rezel Nare and will link one in the description below, as well as at the end of the video. The more modern Mandalorians continued the traditions of the Taung. They were clan-based, with the acceptance of other species into their culture. They would set out to conquer other worlds through violence and would either destroy the inhabitants or assimilate them into their way of the Mandalore. This continued until about 20 years before the Clone Wars, until a group calling themselves the True Mandalorians, led by Mandalore Jester Muriel, decided it was time to think of their place in the galaxy as a whole. It was time to be honorable warriors. He wanted to put an end to the killing and conquest of innocent worlds and take on professions that were more meaningful yet retaining their warrior traditions and skills. Work such as bounty hunting, private security, and mercenary work would be accepted professions in the true Mandalorian society. Another Mandalorian of this group was Jango Fett. He also raised Boba Fett in this tradition. This didn't sit well with some of the other Mandalorians, and a group splintered off called the Death Watch. Led by Tor Vizsla, this group wanted to continue the traditions of the Taung, conquering other worlds, assimilating cultures into their own, growing their numbers until the galaxy was part of the Mandalorian society. Other members of this group included Pre Vizsla and Bo-Katan Kryze. Inevitably, war broke out between the two groups. It tore apart houses and families. Many Mandalorians were killed in this conflict. near the end of the Mandalorian Civil War arose a new group, the New Mandalorians. This group had convinced many in Mandalorian society that war and warrior ways was not the answer anymore. It was time for pacifism. Tired of war and loss, this group gained a lot of ground and became the dominant faction in Mandalorian society. When the war had ended, the true Mandalorians had one remaining member, Jango Fett, and he was imprisoned by the Jedi due to the trickery of Tor Vizsla. However, Jango escaped and went into exile as a bounty hunter. Not just any bounty hunter, but the best bounty hunter the galaxy had seen up to this point. That was mostly due to his training under Jaster Muriel and Jaster's Super Commando Codex, which laid the groundwork for how a Mandalorian should conduct himself or herself. It was a good thing that came out of the Mandalorian Wars, if not the only good thing. Tor Vizsla had been killed, and Pre Vizsla was left in charge of the Death Watch. However, at this point, the new Mandalorians had grown strong in popularity, and Satine Kryze was elevated to the leader of the Mandalorian people. With her new status, she decreed that all warriors were to be exiled to the Mandalorian moon of Concordia, where the Death Watch was believed to have died out. This led to a short stint of peace in Mandalorian society. With Duchess Satine Kryze as the pacifist leader, she let herself open to attack. The Death Watch had not died out. In fact, it had gained new members and was thriving, with the help of two Sith Lords, Darth Maul and Savage Opress. Pre Vizsla took over Mandalore, and war was back in business. When he betrayed Maul and his brother, Maul escaped and killed Pre Vizsla. Maul then led Death Watch to total victory over the pacifists and installed a puppet ruler as Prime Minister Almec. This lasted throughout the Clone Wars, and at the end of the Clone Wars, some of Death Watch had splintered and followed their own warrior path. The leader, Bo-Katan Kryze, enlisted the help of the former Jedi, Ahsoka Tano, and a detachment of Anakin Skywalker's 501st Legion to rid Mandalore of Maul and his Super Commandos. They were successful, and Bo-Katan became the leader of Mandalore. However, that was short-lived. The Republic soon became the Empire, and a rogue society, such as Mandalore, posed a threat to the Emperor's rule. He stripped Bo-Katan of her leadership and placed Gar Saxon as the Regent Viceroy of Mandalore. It's a little ironic. Gar Saxon was one of Maul's lead super commandos. This lasted a little over a decade, until Sabine Wren and her family killed Saxon and gave control of Mandalore back to Bo-Katan Kryze. But this was also short-lived, as the Empire invaded, killed most of the Mandalorian people, and took control of the sector. The remaining Mandalorians are scattered throughout the galaxy, now hiding as coverts. Some have decided their safety is in their secrecy and only come out one at a time. Others are taking on the remaining Imperial threat head-on and trying to establish a new Mandalorian society. Whatever happens, Mandalorians are resilient. They have known nothing but war and have developed their arsenals, armor, and fighting styles to combat anything and anyone. The Mandalorians will not be going anywhere anytime soon, especially now that Mandalorian leadership is back in the hands of a Mandalorian, Din Djarin. Okay, that's my short breakdown of the history of the Mandalorians. It is a fascinating culture within the Star Wars umbrella, so if you're tired of Sith and Jedi, read up on the Mandalorians. There are a lot of great legend stories out there, and more canon stories are being developed. It's my favorite culture in the Star Wars universe, and I've also made some fan fictions to go along with these stories. But what's your favorite culture? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, go on and hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay alerted when I release new Star Wars content. Also, hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Thank you for watching, and remember, this is the way, the only way.